This year, global attention on women is tagged Accelerate Action. The numbers show that Nigeria has performed poorly on the global agenda on equity. Women in Nigeria are underrepresented both in the political and governance spaces, leaving a trail of questions on the place of the national policy on women. This episode is focused on how to close these existing gaps. And as always, my name is Leah Today. It's nice to have you join me on the policy with Leah. We begin the business of the day from the trends table.
The newly appointed Accountant General of the Federation, AGF Shamsuldin Babatunde Ogunjimi, has pledged fairness to all staff of the Treasury House and assured he will do everything legal to strengthen reforms that will ultimately enhance Treasury operations in the country. Ogunjimi, who made the pledge while addressing staff of the OAGF in Abuja, recalled that he had faced victimization from some former chief executives and assured the Treasury staff that no one will be victimized under his watch.
If there's anything bothering you, disturbing you in the discharge of your functions, I'm here. Talk to me. I'm your AGF.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has issued a public alert on 58 companies allegedly operating illegal Ponzi schemes across Nigeria. EFCC, in a statement on its official X page, stated that these entities, posing as investment platforms, have been defrauding unsuspecting Nigerians of their funds. It added that neither the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) nor the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) has accredited them, and legal proceedings have been initiated against several of these companies. June Ashimola, a 55-year-old Nigerian woman who was falsely declared dead, has appeared via video link from Nigeria before the UK High Court to prevent a convicted fraudster from seizing her £350,000 home in Woolwich, South East London. Ashimola was reportedly declared dead in February 2019, sparking a protracted legal battle over her estate. Daily Mail in a report disclosed that the court heard that following her wrongful declaration of death, power of attorney over her estate, which consisted primarily of a house, was granted to one Miss Ruth Samuel, acting on behalf of Bakari Lasisi, who falsely claimed to have married Ashimola in 1993. Nigerian women are advocating meaningful opportunities that are rightfully earned instead of tokenism. This was the consensus at a roundtable put together by the Partnership for Agile Governance and Climate Change PACE in commemoration of the 2025 International Women's Day.
Any opportunity you get, show your competence on your space, and your other sisters in the space allow you to go ahead, shine, present who you are.
We need to build capacities. We need to work with women. Mentoring is the unexplored key to development in Africa. Women need it more than men.
PACE is a UK International Development Fund program working towards a more stable, climate-resilient Nigeria.
Our policy conversation on gender equity, or do I say equality, well, it comes up next. While Nigeria's constitution formally promotes gender equality, the country still faces significant challenges in achieving it, with women experiencing widespread marginalization due to discriminatory laws, cultural norms, and limited access to education and economic opportunities, resulting in a low ranking globally on gender equality indicators. Khadijah Abdullahi is a lawyer. She holds several certifications and fellowships, including being a certified gender-based violence specialist, fellow of the Institute of Management Consultants, and a certified management consultant. She's driven by a profound concern for the current state of the nation's social systems and possesses an unwavering determination to address these challenges head-on. And together we shall be examining Nigeria's status and implications as once again global attention turns to gender equality. It's nice to have you join me for this conversation.
Thank you for having me, Leah.
And how has the celebration been?
It's been okay. I'd say okay, given the circumstances that we face ourselves in Nigeria. So I guess it's okay.
A lot of people would say that every match we come have conversations, and then everyone goes to bed, and we return again the same March in another year and have conversations, but the indicators aren't quite impressive. So I would like to ask you, really, for Nigeria, can we say Nigeria can attain gender equality?
You said equality, I say equity, because I normally, I believe that we should focus on equity more than equality, because equality can be unfair sometimes. And equity should be the way to go, because that also addresses the issues of the historical inequalities for girls and girls and women generally. So I suppose that Nigeria can accelerate action right now if we can look at the policies and legislations. If we can begin to look at how we can tighten the loopholes when it comes to policies and legislations for gender-based violence. Allowing people to go unpunished and all of that, we're still having issues like that. Nigeria can accelerate action also when it comes to education and awareness. We know that if we can have more enrollment, if we can now begin to focus on how we can have more girls. We know that right now we still have about 7.1% of our girls still having issues with enrollment. If we can get more and more women and girls to get into school, when Nigeria decides to invest more on that, I think we'll go very far. It will also help our social infrastructure to see that we have more educated people, more literate people in the society and generally in the sphere of governance. We can also accelerate action if we have more representatives, more women representatives. Right now we have 3.9% of women in parliament. That's from February 2024. And I know that we can do a lot more if we can have more people, community engagement and all of those things happen for us. I believe that Nigeria can be more intentional and deliberate about getting more women and to get into the decision-making table so that women can have better representation. I also believe that the healthcare access, we have a lot of issues with our healthcare access. We know that the global access for rural areas, even the urban areas, is like 5 kilometers. We need more, not people walking how many kilometers before they can get access. I'll give you an example. While we're campaigning in Kuta, that's in Niger State, we went to a community in Kuta, and we had to wait for the community leader to come back and meet with us because we can't go into the community without talking to the community leaders. He came back around 30 minutes later. He apologized profusely and was like, they just buried a lady, and what happened, she could not get access to the hospital in Mina from Kuta. That's like about 2 or 3 hours. The roads were bad, were terrible. I don't know what it is right now, but then it was terrible. And she died. So there had been a lot of maternal mortality and all of those things. And Nigeria can also accelerate action if we can begin to have this partnership with the civil societies. The government needs the civil society, and the civil society
Okay.
also.
I was going to ask you, if you're going to put it into context, how would you give a general view of the performance of women right now and girls when we talk of equality? I know you prefer to say equity.
Yes. I don't think we are fed very well. I would say that we have progressed a little bit. We have moved from where we used to be. Like, for example, we have more girls now enrolled in school. Compared to before, we have more women representing us. We also have women now in some ethnic group in Nigeria. They can now inherit from their parents, and you can also see that the divorce thing with the women. Some legislations are being put together on, especially when you talk about the gender equality bill and all of that. All those things are going on for us, but we still have key challenges, which I've mentioned earlier about the healthcare system, the educational system. We need more women to be economically empowered. Because when the woman has enough to take care of herself, she doesn't have to be financially abused in the home. So I believe that there's still a lot more for sustainable approaches to continue, and for us to be able to feel the impact. We need to do a lot more. I don't think we have fed the way we need to fare. I think that there's still more intentionality that must be pulled into all the indexes that I mentioned earlier on. And for more women who are already in leadership position to also be intentional, not just the men. We also need the men to be champions for women. We need the men to add their voices and see that when a woman is all right, when a woman has all of these things that we're talking about, things will be better. We also, let me not forget the employability thing. We know that right now we have more women who are underpaid compared to 5.2% of men who are paid now. So I think that we need to do a lot more. We also need more women to be more literate, because at this point we have 20.5% of women who are not literate enough compared to their male counterpart. So we need to put all of these things in perspective, and we need the government to work hand in hand with organizations like ours, Women Community in Africa, and a lot more, because we're a coalition of NGOs, women-led NGOs. We have men too, who are the he for she's. So it's for us to have a more solid partnership, for us to be able to address the sorry state of social infrastructure in Nigeria.
Okay, what kinds of conversations are you having with policymakers, especially at your level?
So some of the conversations we've been having is still on the social healthcare systems and all of that. For example, let's say that we need more women to be counseled when they have been abused or something. We need more centers, community centers, where these women can run to. So we're talking to the people we have access to about shelters, where women and their children can go to. What we've done in Women Community in Africa is that having conversations like this with stakeholders, with community leaders, with thought leaders, with all of those people. One of our strategies is also to have town hall with the grassroots people, because we have our people scattered in different local government areas and different states in Nigeria. So one of the things that we have experienced when we did our first summit was we found out that there are shelters in Abuja here, but there are women who have children that cannot go to these shelters with their children, because the shelters do not accept the women. The children they will just tell them to go away, that they should stay. And you can't separate a woman with her children. What's the use of leaving the house if you cannot go with your children? So these are things that we're having conversation with stakeholders. I think we've talked to the mandate secretary. We've created a structure, a system that can work for us, that can take care of the psychosocial support of the women and those of the children too, that can have centers for a place where the women can have discussions, because it also helps as a therapeutic thing to have women who are going through the same thing with you. We're also looking at a place where women, where there will be a skill acquisition kind of thing, where women can be trained. So we've submitted all of these things, and we're talking to them about it. We are pushing it to see if they can fund it, because funding has always been a problem, a major problem for a lot of civil society. They have the will, the passion to do a lot of things, but they cannot do it because of access to resources that they cannot have. And also, this rape kit thing, it's very important that we talk about it. We don't have a place that when children, young adults are raped, that they can run to. So these are the conversations that we are having with some of the people we have access to. We're hoping to have this conversation with more of them. And we need to do more campaign, media campaign like what you're doing, and maybe do what we did in our first summit where we had the theme for child sexual abuse. We created flyers, we created cartoons where the touch signs where you should be touched, where you should not be touched. We created lots of literatures so that can help drive more educational awareness at the community and the grassroots level for mothers and families to know that these things are happening and how to go about it. Another thing we did also was going to the police gender department. We had trainings for them on what to do when they receive gender-based violence issues. But one of the things that came out of that training was that they are underfunded. And see, we're still going back to the funding. If they that are working in the government are still talking about funding, then people like us in civil society, you can imagine what we are going through.
Okay, now that you've touched on gender-based violence, again, I'm going to just delve into some questions that have hovered around over time from that space. It is the issue. One of them is people who run to, unfortunately, the police in some instances to give these kinds of complaints. You either get them being turned back. I'm sure you've heard of that,
Yes,
or
we
being turned
had that
back,
discussion.
yes, or to go back, apologize, or you hear statements of, "Are you the first one? You keep quiet." In fact, you find some families shutting up their kids or wives when they complain, or adults when they complain that they're being abused. So don't bring shame to the family. So you just keep quiet and endure. While in some instances, they're being forced to marry rapists so they can safeguard a family name. We have those kinds of
talking about the systemic cultural norms that are very debilitating for a lot of families. For the police, so what we discovered during our research is that we found out that some of the policemen also abuse their wives. Some of them also are abused as well. Some of them do not have the emotional intelligence to be able to handle cases when it comes to them. So all of these things so we spoke to the AIG a few weeks back, and she told us that they've done a lot of trainings on these things. They are still working on it. They are still work in progress. But they want to change the narrative for the police so that families can quickly run to them. She is manning the gender unit, so she understands all of these nitty-gritties. Then when you talk about the cultural norms and how it's really a huge issue for us, a massive issue, because you finish fighting and you want to ensure that these people get justice, and then the family just shuts down and they don't want to talk to you again. You are the one fighting to get them justice. You are the one fighting you've used your resources and all of that, and all of a sudden they shut you down. So these cultural norms and biases are things that we should begin to talk about, and also find ways. I think that when we change legislation, when we look at legislation on how to mandate people who have been abused to also have access to justice, because sometimes it's the parents out of their own selfish thinking that this is about them. It's not about them, it's about the children. Until we begin to have legislation that speaks to the fact that we are protecting the children first before any other thing, we'll not go anywhere. These SGBV pots that was established in 2022 or thereabout. I don't know how they've been implementing it, if they are doing it the way that it should be, because these are the things that helps families, gives succor to families. Because going to the court will take forever. But if you have a court system that that will deal with the issue, especially when it comes to domestic violence, effectively, I think that it will go a long way to heal the family and help them to move from point 1 to point 20.
I just love what Ekiti State, I just have to mention Ekiti State, that ensures that offenders get into the register and they do the naming and shaming as well. Before I let you leave, on a very quick note, you're a mother, a grandmother, looking very young and beautiful, of course, innovator, writer, author, just so many things, entrepreneur. How are you doing it? In fact, you were on the campaign trail contesting elections, and what does that mean for young girls?
So for me, I think what I want more young girls to know is about knowing who you are first and why you're here on earth. Understanding, as you're growing older, you need to understand who you as a person and why you're here and what assignments you have. Once you understand that, you begin to understand, okay, what are the talents that are available to me? What are the things that I need to do with those talents? And how much love do I have inside of me? So about the beauty part aspect of it is because you're very beautiful yourself. That's why you could see beauty in other people. Thank you so much.
Thank you for making out time for this conversation.
Thank you.
I wish we have more time, but
thank you so much.
And we move straight away to our education segment, Simplify This, and from there we take you to the local commodities market. The much we can take on this episode, but as always, I'd like to remind you that you can log on to our sister website. It is www.marketnigeriatv.com. We have all the market details and more there for you. And also, don't forget to send in your questions, comments, and suggestions because we need them to help us serve you better. Follow us and subscribe on our YouTube channel. It is at Saban Media Services and our socials as well. My name is Leah today, and it's nice to know that you're out there and following and catching up on the program. Until we come your way again, same time next week. Be safe out there, and God bless Nigeria.